Hey, what's going on everybody? This is Donovan back again with High Off Blue Hour, and in this video we are going to be looking at titles in Davinci Resolve Studio 18.5, right? And this time I have some stock video clips pulled into the timeline. Got this lady walking, got another lady walking, kind of power walking down this dark hallway, very kind of stylized shot. Looks like something from a 90s music video or something. And then we got this guy walking into work or something. Looks like he's going into the office. And then we have, looks like a couple out on, maybe it's a date night or something, just holding hands, walking into the night air, kind of silhouetted against the night lights. And then we have this lady out in the great outdoors, just happy to be outside, I guess. So these are the clips, just some clips to kind of put some titles over. Nothing particularly special about these clips in terms of story or anything like that, but just something to use, right? So titles, we access the titles, of course, from the toolbox. Click the toolbox and you drop down, get your titles, and you come over, and here we have the basic Davinci Resolve titles, and then you have Davinci Resolve's Fusion titles, which are a lot more kind of slick and animated and just flashy and definitely impressive. And then you go down further. Subtitles is not going to be a part of what I'm talking about. I'm not going to actually be talking about subtitles in this video, but you know, you can do subtitles on Davinci Resolve. And then we have these plugin titles from 4editors.com, which I talked about them in my transitions video. Along with transitions and graphical overlays, there were also some title assets that were available when I bought that pack, and so many in fact that I've never actually looked at the titles that were in that pack. So that kind of shows you how much value was actually in their product, because you know, there's still things, hundreds of assets in fact that I haven't even looked at. But these are some of 4editors.com. They're out of one of their graphic packs. These are some of their titles, but we're gonna focus mainly on the basics, the Davinci Resolve, everything that just comes with Davinci Resolve Studio. So these titles, basic text, custom text, I'm actually not gonna really go into like the lower thirds stuff, at least maybe briefly. One of the reasons being is I've never really used some of these, so you know, it's kind of, I've never really actually got into some of these. But what I will talk about, we're gonna start with this basic text. I'm gonna bring this into the timeline. In basic text, you know, it's the basic, you know, the basic, relatively most simple, easiest title option on here. But you can do a lot even with the basic text option, because you know, you can customize, of course, font and color and all of those type of things. So let's just go ahead and change the font. Let's just go with impact, and you know, you can do all of that stuff. You got your color, the size, the tracking, the line spacing. You got your font style, the different alignments, positioning, and you can also affect positioning within settings. But what happens is when you're in title, you can do positioning and you can do all you want in title, but then when you go into settings, then the positioning and settings changes the whole of what you produced in the title editing part of the inspector, right? So for instance, this positioning, I'm gonna put this over to the right in here in the title, but then when I go into my settings, the positioning is still like, you know, I still just can move things around however I want. So it's kind of like the positioning and settings for me is what I pay attention to the most, as opposed to the positioning in the title section. So let me get everything back there. But anyway, so you can you know, color, positioning, all of that type of stuff, rotation angle, the stroke, let's add a stroke in there, maybe just a little, let's go 1. And then you got your drop shadow. So if you want to drop shadow, well, first let me make this a little bigger. So if you want to drop shadow, let's just change the color. And what a drop shadow is, that's this effect where you get this kind of, if you want to get a little bit of a glow, almost a glow look, you bring the drop shadow in. You got the offset on the X and Y axes, and this is what happens when you kind of move it, just shift it just a little bit. And a lot of these, you just kind of play with them till you get the look you want. Because there really is, and while there is a technical aspect to some of this stuff in terms of how certain things work and the functions, a lot of this is just up to your artistic taste. Like if you want, you want your drop shadow to look however you want your drop shadow to look. Now people might feel a way about how it looks, but it's up to you what you want to do. But that's the drop shadow. And then you got your background here. Now the background, you can't see it, right? And the reason for that, because if you go down to height, the height is at 0. So the height is so low that the background just disappears. But if you start to raise the height just a little bit, boom, the background shows up. Then let's shorten the width a little bit so it's kind of more in line with the actual length of the text. And then you go down to opacity. If you want this background to be solid as opposed to kind of a little bit see-through the way it is, you raise that opacity, and now you got a solid black background. And of course, that drop shadow is sticking out there. If say you don't like that drop shadow, you just want white letters on a blank black background, go up here, turn your drop shadow off, and now you got that. And since you're on a black background, this stroke probably isn't even necessary, especially at 7. That just makes the letters look smaller. So take the stroke down, boom, now you got that. Maybe you want the stroke to come up just a little bit more, and then you can go there. You got that. So just, there's ways you can obviously edit your titles here, and then you can go into settings and further do things, zoom in and out, make it bigger, make it smaller, positioning type stuff. And then you go here, you got your rotation angles. And I gotta mention, you see the gray diamonds that are next to all, well, in title, it's not next to everything, but it's next to some stuff. Anything that the gray diamonds are next to, that means those are options for keyframing. You can do keyframing. Essentially, you can animate that function. So in here in settings, let's just show an example of animating this basic title. This is a goofy looking title. This isn't what I would use for this image or this footage, but let's say I wanted to just a basic fade in on this title. So what we'll do, how long is this clip? This clip is 7 seconds or so. So what we'll do, let's bring it here, and then let's actually not even do a fade in, we're gonna do a zoom in. So with keyframing, what we'll do, we'll put this title in make it so small that it's disappeared, because that's the starting position. Now we're gonna click the keyframing diamond, signifying that that's the starting position of that keyframe. I think I've went over keyframing in another video, but I kind of will naturally reiterate what it's all about. So then by the time we get here, we're gonna want the title to have zoomed in, right, to have showed up. So by the time we get here, let's bring the title in to about there, right? And it almost even looks a little mysterious, like the title is a blindfold, like it's covering her eyes a little bit or something like that. So it, stylistically it might work or something. But let's and then let's just see how that looks in play. It's just a simple title kind of just popping up basically. Boom. And now you want to get your speed, to what you like. There was there were some speed things there that weren't ideal, but you see the general functionality of, what you can do with just a simple keyframe setup. That's how you get, animation going on. And really with Davinci Resolve, keyframing, is really the key to so much of the different impressive things that you can do in terms of making your videos look slicker and you know, have a little bit of more, you know, pizzazz, as they like to say. So, and keyframing is just so you know, key when it comes to editing, at least in my opinion. So let's get out of this. Let's get out of that basic text, because this is going to turn into a long video if I kind of linger too long on certain things. Now we have this right here, which is called custom title. Let's bring this in. Now I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't actually use the custom title option too often. I always typically utilize basic title and or some of the fusion titles. I use there's a fusion title down here called, let me find it, where is it, superhero movie. I use that superhero movie fusion title template. I use that in pretty much every single video, just about every single tutorial video that I've done on this channel, and I've used it on other channels as well. It's just, you know, it's a very slick, bold, you know, relatively exciting, you know, animated font and just motion, movement, and all that type of stuff. But this custom title, I don't use it a lot, but you know, it implies that you can really customize the title when you use this option. But when I really look through a lot of the options with the custom title, a lot of the things that you can do with custom title, it really seems like you can do with the basic title as well, just in terms of you know, customization and animation, keyframing and whatnot. There are a few things, there's probably specifics that aren't really on the basic title option. In fact, let's do this. We got that custom title. Let's bring in basic title. Let's have them side by side so I can really get a good look at this. So this is custom over here, and this is basic. And so basic, let's see here. And yeah, okay, when they're side by side, you can really tell a lot better what we got going on here, because let's go over to the title tab in basic title, and this is where you're limited to in terms of how you affect things. This, what's on this page basically, right? But then you go over here to custom titles, and now in the title tab, look at how much more. You don't just have one page that has, you know, more extensive options, you know, options so extensive that some of these, I'm gonna be completely honest, I don't even know how to use them or what they would necessarily do. But then and then you got your layout. So yeah, I understand now that I got them side by side. Custom title does have a lot more customization options than basic title, even though basic title actually does have a lot of customization options as long as you know how to keyframe. So interesting. All right, so I'm going to get out of basic. Let me delete the basic title option here. All right, so custom titles, obviously just more extensive customization. You know, all of, you know, your rotation, shear, size, you got your shading, all of these different things, different things to do with the image. And then of course you got your settings. So it's just a lot. Just within the text tab, you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You've got 6 different tabs within the text tab, and then within the settings tab, you got generally the same kind of stuff as the other options. But yeah, so custom options, just more extensive things to do. Let's actually do something with the custom options. Let's actually move to a different clip so we're not just staring at this the whole time. All right, let's go here. We got this lady power walking down this hallway. How long is this clip? All right, so let's shorten the clip a little bit because it doesn't need to be that long. Let's go about there. All right, so we got this lady power walking down the hall, and then we got our custom title brought in. So what you do, let's go up to, what you do is let's go over to text, and what we're gonna do, we're just gonna say straight strutting, just to put something. I mean, I'm just kind of being goofy here. It's not really important what the title is, but, and then let's make it impact. Let's make it impact. Matter of fact, we'll just leave it the way it is. I was gonna go all caps, but we'll just leave it like that. Let's make it this kind of hot pinkish color, because I think that's gonna contrast really well with the black. But let's do some sort of editing to this just to get it done. So what we're gonna do, we're gonna start out. This looks fine in this position. Let's go to layout. I want to do this rotation deal here. So what we're gonna do, just to kind of give an example of some of the things you could do, we're gonna have this starting out like this, right? And we're gonna keyframe it there. And then as we get in, we're gonna have it, or actually let's go back, keyframe that there. And then as we get in, we're gonna have it rotate up to about there. And then as we get out here, it's gonna rotate back. And then I'm gonna have it fade out. So let's just see initially how this is going to look. And let me actually put just a slight fade on it right there. Let's see how this looks. Rotates up slowly, rotates. And I didn't put a fade on that, but I'm going to put a fade on it. Let's put a little fade there. All right, so let's take a look at it again. Power walking, straight strutting, rotates up, then rotates back and fades out. I didn't get the fade to be as strong as I wanted. Let's bring that fade out more. Now let's try that again. Straight strutting, rotates up, and then just fades out. I'm actually going to shorten this some so the fade out happens like that. One more time. Rotates up and then fades out. So that's just and that's very, I know that if you're an expert at Davinci Resolve, I'm sure you're giggling at that, but that's just a simple just messing around with. Again, I don't normally mess around with the custom text thing. I mess with basic text and then just go straight to Fusion titles, which in a certain way kind of pretty much does most of the tough lifting for you. You just have to know how to type and position things on the screen in terms of centering your text on the center of your screen or wherever you want the text to be aligned at on your screen. So that is the custom text function. Essentially, this is where you can really manually customize your text, your titles, and just do if you know how to use all of these options, what they mean and what they affect. Some of them, a good chunk of these, I know what they do and what effect they have. But if I'm honest, there are a chunk of these as well that, I don't know what I'm looking at in terms of what they're talking about and whatnot. And that's just me being honest. But custom text is where you would, as the title implies, really customize your text. We got our preview tab working. All right, the preview tab is working all right. Sometimes the preview tab doesn't always want to preview, but since it seems to be working on a good chunk of these, I'm gonna scrub over a lot of these so you can just see what a lot of them look like. And obviously they're all just using sample text, but you got clean and simple right there. Clean and simple lower thirds. Now this is dark box text lower third. You got that. Digital glitch lower third. And some of these are not going to preview as well as others because some of them are just a lot more require a lot more than others in terms of just, processing, I guess. But here's what I'll do is I'll go down to, let's take a look at this one, this jitter one. Well, first let me delete this. All right, let's bring jitter in. And we're going to put jitter over, let's actually put jitter over this couple that's walking in or walking out, wherever they're going. And let's change what jitter actually says. Let's just change it to date night. Let's go all caps. All right, so we got date night. Let's actually give it a, what kind of color we want to go with. Let's go with something like that. And it's the jitter edge. And so you can change the color of the jittering edge. So let's go with, I'm actually gonna go with, let's go with something like that maybe. It doesn't actually even matter anyways, does it? Well, let's pick a screen color and maybe get something that's gonna match the outdoors a little bit. So all right, let's grab that, maybe make it a little brighter so it glows some, or there's some glow to it. All right, so we got that going on, and then you can affect the jitter speed. I guess that is fine. Let's just see how it looks at this stage. Okay. Yeah, I mean, again, it's up to your taste, like whether that's a style of title that would work for you. And again, you know, and colors make a big deal. If you change the color of this, like if you take the blue and turn that to black, and then take this orange and turn this to like maybe a red or a crimson, okay, the whole, you know, the whole mood just changes, right? Like this almost looks like the opening for a horror movie. The first title colors kind of look like just a pleasant, almost like family friendly. Maybe this is a fall, October evening outing. It's a wholesome chase, what's the term? Chase, a wholesome date, right? But then when you change the colors to black and red, it looks a little more ominous, you know, like this could be the opening to a horror film or something like that. So it just shows, just showing how, you know, it's up to you, you know, artistically, how you can affect things, how you can create a mood and express yourself, all of those things. This is the jitter fusion title option. And again, all I did was just type in the words I wanted and then messed around with the colors, and then you press play and all of the heavy lifting is really done for you in terms of the actual animation. So that's what I like about these fusion titles. There's essentially templates that you just kind of have to fill in the blanks on. Let's look at one more, and then I'm going to end this video because I really rambled on some of the earlier really basic, you know, basic and custom text really occupied a lot of my time there. I didn't know that was going to happen. Let's go down here to superhero movie, because this is the one that I use a lot on my tutorial videos. In fact, I'm probably going to use it at the beginning of this tutorial video. And so let's and when you have these fusion titles, what you want to do, because all of them, when you put the playhead at just the beginning, a lot of the times you don't see anything, because all of them have an animation motion that they're going through. They have to either fade in or move in and all this stuff. They have to actually take the time to get into their motion. It's not just basic text where it's just there all the time. It has to intro in. So you see, as I kind of scrub through, now you can see it. So when you want to see exactly what the clear version of a fusion title looks like, you're gonna want to take your playhead to like the very center of the title, or of the title that you just pulled into the timeline, so that you can see what everything clearly looks like, and then you can go in and edit your text. So top text, let's just say I'm gonna just say she's, actually let's capitalize it, she's, and then and let's make it, let's go down to the Scream font. That's the same font that I kind of use quite a bit on my tutorial titles. And then go to bottom text, and let's just say on top of the world. Let's do this. things more center. Let's go up here to where's the line? Oh, they're not letting me do my line. Vertical offset. All right, yeah, that's what I want. It's interesting, like when you're working with the fusion title versus working with the basic title, there's a few functions where the name of the function that you need to do the same thing that you do in another type of title setup changes. So in this, it's bottom text vert offset, whereas when I'm working with basic text, I think it's like line spacing or something like that. But it's something different. But anyway, so you kind of sometimes you have to mess around with things. And let's change this to Scream and move it down a little bit. All right, boom. And then let's go ahead and get our color. I'm gonna just change the color to black. Stylistically, maybe this isn't the best, you know, because it's kind of a bright, outdoorsy, positive, happy, you know, out in the air type vibe. And the black on the letters kind of seems like it almost doesn't fit, although it does go well with the contrast of the gray in her sweater. So that maybe it works. So then we go over here, and we just did all this editing to the title, and then like we talked about before, you do all that, but then you go over to settings, and that's where you really control all of what you just did editing the title. So now you can move this whole batch of letters up like this if you want. Now this is a horrible composition. Her face is all like covered up or whatever, but let's just see how this looks when you play it out. On top of the world. And it'll be you know, as usual, it'll be much smoother in the final product, in the final export, right? So that'll actually, that turn and rotation will be a little bit quicker, but you get the idea of what's going on here. So there it is. All right, so this is going to be the video, you guys. This was a long one. We're going to see how this works out in the edit. I'll try to get it at least a little bit shorter than this. If you watched a good chunk of this video, or if you watched the whole video, I really appreciate it. I didn't know things were going to kind of play out the way they played out, but what the whole purpose of this was just to introduce you to incorporating titles into your Davinci Resolve timeline, and just how that looks, where things are located, and just a good look at kind of the functionality of certain things, and give you an idea of, you know, hey, I want my title to rotate. Where do I go to make my title rotate? Where are the options to customize your titles, and all of those type of things? You know, what is working with the fusion title like? It's an interesting thing. But that is it. That is some of the basics on just working with your titles in Davinci Resolve. I know this maybe wasn't the most in-depth of tutorials, but to me it's at least an introduction to how you access and utilize some of these assets. So that's the video. Thank you for watching. I will catch you on the next one.